Thank you, Bill, and thanks everyone for the opportunity to be here and talk to you about some of the work that we've had underway in the Southeast. The IBSS partnership is a substantial program that's been conducted with funding through USDA NEFA. It's a program that involves a number of organizations in the region. It includes Auburn University, North Carolina State University, Arborgen, which is a tree genetics company in South Carolina, as well as Genera Energy and others that have been involved. The target with this program has been very much about feedstock development, biomass production, feedstock development, and really has looked at the entire supply chain. It's given us that opportunity to take a deep dive into the supply chain in the Southeast and to, I think, identify the real opportunities and challenges in developing that area. You know, for me, I've spent any number of years, most of my career actually in the forest products industry, and so when we think about lignocellulosic biomass, my mindset has always been 2x4s, materials, if you will. And so as I think about it now, we're really moving into a new phase of the bioeconomy in the South. So that solid materials phase has been so important to the region's economy, and now there's new opportunity as we begin to think about a liquid phase from this biomass resource in the Southeast. The opportunity that it presents is tremendous. It's real, and it's really important for our nation, frankly, to move to this renewable chemicals, renewable fuels technologies. Getting there is one that involves a number of steps. You've heard a lot about the supply chain already this morning and all of the individual stages within that supply chain. Our program, the IBSS Partnership, has addressed in virtually every step along the way. And I think maybe just to highlight one additional key point that we've been involved in also has to do with education. So with every one of those steps along the supply chain, it's important that our landowners understand these new technologies, these new biomass systems that are out there, that our converters understand, and that users understand the ultimate products that are being developed there. So we've had quite a bit of extension and outreach work going on within the region to help all of these different stakeholders appreciate the opportunities and the technology advancements that have been made. So what I'd like to do, already you've heard a lot about the different sources of biomass, and I'd kind of like to reinforce some of the items that you've heard. Now, when you think about the Southeast, there are a number of unique attributes about that region, and frankly, it probably extends to the East as a whole, especially if you start to compare it to the Pacific Northwest or Iowa in the Midwest. In the Southeast, we have a number of private landowners, and we have a number of really smaller farms, so it's not the tens of thousands of acres kinds of farms for production, but there are individual smaller packets of land, forest land holdings. And as a result, those landowners all have different interests and different goals that they were trying to achieve. So as Dr. Jackson pointed out earlier, the ability and the need for really a portfolio of different biomass crops is important not only in terms of the technical aspects of supply, but also in terms of engaging our landowners and meeting the needs and the opportunities that are presented in the Southeast. Now, when you think about the Southeast, I mentioned the forest products industry early on. This is a very healthy and very vibrant industry that is in place in the region. And as a result of that, we have about 40 million acres of southern pine trees that are planted throughout the region. Those trees having been planted to support that industry, pulp and paper, composite materials, as well as lumber. So within that 40 million acres and through the operations that the forest products industry has ongoing every day, there's a lot of biomass that is produced that is available today, that is on the ground today for use. You've seen some of that work. In many ways, it's kind of the analogy of corn stover in the Midwest. So it's our residue that as a result of other operations, and it's one that is really a vital piece to jumpstart the industry in the region, if you will. There are certain aspects of that southern pine biomass that are very attractive. It has to do with cost, as you might imagine, but it's a little bit constraining in terms of the technology. So if you recall, there are different platforms for conversion and for producing fuels and chemicals, biochemical, thermochemical platforms. Southern pine really does not lend itself to that biochemical conversion platform, so it's a little bit limiting in terms of the industry that it is attractive to. But still a resource that's there, it's available today, that's an important foundation for the industry. The other then real appeal for that region has to do with energy crops and the dedicated energy crops or purpose-grown crops, again, that you've heard mentioned already this morning. Certainly herbaceous in the East Tennessee region. We've done quite a bit of work with switchgrass and have quite a bit of experience with switchgrass production and management and harvesting, the entire logistics there. It's a very attractive crop for the region, very low impact crop for the region, and we continue to look at the prospect that it presents for much of the Southeast, frankly. One of the real appeals there is has to do with, again, kind of to back up and think about the fact that we've gone from solid phase to liquid phase. We're really talking about chemicals at this point, and the opportunity to design the performance of these energy crops and thinking of these in the context of a chemical resource as opposed to a material resource is something that is important and needs to continue to evolve. Switchgrass, certainly we've made tremendous progress in understanding the chemical and the structural features of that particular crop as well as other grass crops. It's one that performs very well in biochemical platform or biochemical conversions, so it offers a nice complement or supplement to the southern pine that's on the ground today, and one that we're optimistic will be a very important resource in the region. The other energy crop that we've invested quite a bit of time and energy on is what's known as short rotation woody crops. You've heard a little bit about that in maybe as hybrid poplar or willow. This is another, frankly, wood and trees, again, 40 million acres of pine, big forest products industry. It's a part of the culture of the Southeast. It's something that the landowners and are very comfortable with, right up there with sweet tea, maybe fried chicken, just really, woven into the fabric there. So continuing to develop that is a very important option for us. And again, this is one that through genetic control, through selections, we're able to really tailor and design that crop for optimal performance at every step along the supply chain, pre-processing as well as conversion. You've seen pictures, I believe, of this piece of equipment already, and it has to do with a new harvesting technology for woody crops that's been imported into the Southeast region. This is a hybrid poplar plantation that is in our outside Columbus, Mississippi. And really what I wanted to highlight with this, knowing that you've already seen it, clearly you can tell from the speed of the harvest, that's going to make a big difference. You can tell that, this biomass is not touching the ground, so we're not picking up dirt, we're not picking up impurities, delivering then a very high quality, very clean feedstock to the converter or to the depot. But really I wanted to highlight that none of this is really happening in a vacuum. This particular project, this harvest here, actually involved the State University of New York, researchers at SUNY, as well as folks at Greenwood Resources out in the Pacific Northwest, colleagues at Auburn and within the IBIS partnership, as I mentioned earlier, and of course the Case New Holland industry or company that has worked to develop this equipment. So this level of collaboration and cooperation is something that has been ongoing and continues to build. So we have this diversity of resources, this diversity of biomass sources within the region. And one of the keys then is, it comes down to how do we utilize all of these different sources. So each one of these has slightly different characteristics, properties. Maybe there are challenges with ash content. Again, anytime we're bringing something into a conversion process that is not contributing to the product, it's creating a challenge, okay? So the cleaner the feedstock that we're bringing in is very important to us. So from all these different biomass sources, one of the programs that we have underway now and are working with DOE's Bioenergy Technologies Office is advancing this concept of a depot where multiple sources of biomass come in and essentially one feedstock comes out. So it's a very reproducible, very consistent supply of a feedstock that's being delivered to the conversion industry. Now, to make that happen, one of the challenges is that we have to understand what exactly is coming into that depot. So an important development of this work is new sensor technology that allows us to monitor in real time the chemical characteristics of the biomass that's coming in, as well as to track the chemical characteristics and performance characteristics of the feedstock that is moving from the depot to the biorefinery. So it's a question of quantity, but equally as important is that question of quality and providing a consistent and uniform and reliable feedstock to an industry throughout the year. With that, just to leave you with a few thoughts, the Southeast region is projected really to produce about 50% of the nation's liquid fuels. That number is there because of the capacity of that region to produce biomass, to grow biomass. It's a very highly productive, high-yielding area. That opportunity to have that portfolio of products is such an important asset, as Dr. Jackson mentioned earlier, even in reducing risk, which is such an important consideration when looking at investment opportunities or potential. A challenge that remains for us is within the technology providers or the converters and being able to accommodate different sources of biomass. So certainly in the case of the biochemical platform, very efficient, very effective technologies, but very dependent on feedstock or characteristics coming in. So looking at more versatility within those processes is something that a number of people are working on, and we're confident that the efficiencies will continue to move that way. And so just finally too, one point that we haven't brought up yet, but as we think about deploying energy crops across the landscape in the Southeast, I think it's very important to keep in mind that there are a number of related benefits that this system offers, particularly around environmental benefits and similar gains throughout the entire system. So with that, thank you very much.